Hey everybody, you're watching Roll Hunter, and there are few things that get me as excited as a big old bag of pennies, and that's exactly what we've got here to hunt through today. Stay tuned. Oh boy. It is James here. You're watching my channel, Roll Hunter, and I'm super excited because in this bag, we've got 50 rolls of Canadian pennies. And there's some really cool ones here. These are the Royal Bank of Canada penny pinchers. They used to hand these out for you to put your coins in. They're plastic rollers. I got a whole bunch of them, and it looks like there's at least a few of them in this bag, which is pretty cool. But we got a whole box worth of pennies in these rollers, 50 rolls. It's $25 of pennies. And what makes this really special is that pennies don't circulate here in Canada. So these came from the bank. These came from the Toronto Hoard. I've searched a couple of bags so far. We're going to search this one here today. And there's all sorts of goodies we're looking for. We're looking for low mint. Can we find some old stuff? Because these aren't circulating, chances are they've been sitting in people's piggy banks. And finally, somebody's emptied out a drawer or a piggy bank or a bucket or wherever they kept their pennies. And they could have been there for a very long time. So we're hoping there's some really old stuff in here. You just never know. And that would be helpful because we're trying to fill up spots in our beautiful Lighthouse Canada Vista Nature album here. This one here from our good friends at Lighthouse Canada is looking for some friends to fill some spots here, but we could use some of the oldies, some of the King George V, and upgrades to anything here that doesn't look all bright and shiny. So, and of course we got our tools. We have our magnet. We want to be checking some of the varieties that are either magnetic or non-magnetic. We've got our digital scale, and we've got our copper cup. Any Canadian pennies from 1996 and earlier are going to be made of copper or bronze, 95% copper anyway. And we're going to hold on to those because the bullion value of copper is significantly more than the face value of the coin. It's probably a few cents worth of copper versus 1 cent face value. So that's tripling our investment. So we're going to hold on to that, and we hope that copper takes off in the future. But let's dig into this and see what we can find. And I don't know how long these have been sitting around, but there is an old dried up dirty elastic. We'll get that out of the way, and I've bundled them all up here. There's 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 rolls, so we're not going to be shorted, at least in terms of rolls. Somebody was able to count. I'm excited to get in these pennies. I really want to see what's in here. Well, first roll, we're a little bit heavier on the steel and zinc. We got a few US, and there is our copper. We're going to collect all that. We're going to throw that in the copper cup, and I missed one, so we're going to get that in there too. But nothing old. We're looking for laureate portraits. King George VI, King George V would be incredible. So we're going to have to just keep on going here through these rolls. We got a 1979 under the scope, and it's going to be a variety that you can look for. It's the 1979 double date. And this one here has doubling on the 7 and the 9. You can see it around here. It's dye deterioration doubling, which means that you can find this in late stage die coins. So when the dies have been pretty deteriorated or overused, they'll create doubling, and you can sometimes see it across all 4 digits of the date, and sometimes it can be pretty spectacular, and even of course on a mid-state coin because it was a attribute of the die. It wasn't deterioration on the planchet or the coin. So brand new coins, you want to find one in a mid-state, and it'll have a bit of a premium over a regular 1979. They're not terribly uncommon, but really cool. Roll number 5, and we're going to get our first laureate portrait finally, and it's got a bit of mint luster still on it. Some toning at the top there. Hopefully it's an older one. We'll see. It is a 1962. There's a variety we want to look for in 1962. I'll throw this one under the scope here. All our 1962 pennies, we're looking for the guitar or harp variety. And it's a die variety that shows little lines coming from the 1 down to the maple leaf. We don't have that. The other thing we want to look for in a lot of the 50s and 60s is the hanging digit, where there's a die clash, a line that is connecting the top of this last digit, making it look like it's hanging. That's actually a die clash from the Queen's chin on the other side of the coin, that when these two dies hit each other, left an impression. So that's what we see. But we got our first laureate portrait, 1962. I'm in roll number 8. And I'm starting to pull out some just beautiful gleaming 2011s. I've got a little stack of them over there. And this one here, and I expect that this might be another 2011, and it is. I'm going to just hold on to some of these. They are just gorgeous. So 10 rolls in, we've only got that one laureate portrait. These penny pincher rolls look a little bit interesting because check this out. It's got 1976, still pretty shiny. We've got an older portrait on that side. And it looks like we've got a whole roll of copper. This could all be 1976. This looks like some older copper. But again, this one looks like it's a 77. Looks like there's a lot of older stuff still shiny in here. Interesting. So I think that's what we might end up having is a whole roll of 1976 here. And they all look to be in beautiful condition. Oh, there's a 74. 76. 76. So I'll just separate these out. Any of these ones that are in beautiful condition, I'm going to keep. There's a 75. So we got some 70s pennies that somebody was holding on to. That's pretty awesome. So mostly 1976s. We got a few 1975s and 1974s. I'm hoping we've got some upgraders in there for the album. That would be really cool. Roll 13, our third penny pincher. We got a laureate portrait on the end here. That's going to be a 63. And I saw this as I was laying it down. We got another one. This one is going to be a 1964. And we're going to have another one at the end of this roll. This one here, 1960. So that's our oldest one so far. So we're about halfway through and we've probably got an even mix of copper and zinc when you consider what we've got on the board here. But we're not finding much in the way of oldies. We've got just a handful of coins from the 60s. In fact, not even a handful, just 4 in 30 rolls. That's way lower than I would normally find. No King George VI. So I'm not sure what the deal is. Now, when you get 50 rolls that are probably coming from all sorts of different customers, these are all different sorts of wrappers than the other rolls that we had. A lot of the same here. So this could be one set of customers. This could be very different sets of customers. I'm hoping that these rolls have something better and different. We are in roll number 37 already, and there is a really nice looking last year 2012 penny. That is the last year the penny was produced, and they were withdrawn from circulation pretty soon after they were produced. There it is, 2012. So we're 90% of the way through this hunt. We're down to our last 5 rolls, and this has been perhaps one of the most unproductive penny hunts I've had ever, or in a very long time. We got just 4 pennies from the 60s so far. No King George VI. Really no varieties to speak of. It's highly unusual. One of the things I love about pennies is that you can often find older stuff. King George VI are still fairly common to get in pennies. You're not going to find a ton of them necessarily, but you're always hoping that somebody's going to empty their piggy bank that's been sitting on their table for God knows how long. So you just never really know. We got a fair amount of copper so far, and we got some US stuff, but just nothing old. No wheat cents, nothing from the 50s. So you never know. We're going to hope that these last 5 rolls have some kind of goodie. Well, there is the carnage, 50 empty penny wrappers, and it was a terrible hunt. I will admit it. It was awful. We just got 4 laureate portraits from the 60s. We got a 60, 62, 63, 64. Nothing older. We got one 1979 with doubling on the date. That's the 779. I suppose one bright spot was getting a bunch of bright and shiny 74, 75, 76, 77s in a couple of rolls. I'm hoping we have an album upgrader or 2. And you know, the hunt was bad when the find of the hunt wasn't even a penny. It was actually these Royal Bank penny pinchers, which I really love. I got a few more of those for my collection. They made these also for nickels and dimes and quarters. I have a handful of those, so that's cool. But what we were really hoping to find were some old pennies, some key dates, something interesting, and we didn't get that. Over 50 rolls. These all came out of that Toronto Penny Hoard. They came from banks, a bunch of different banks in Toronto. I basically bought these from another collector who is more into banknotes. We'll kind of do some trades, I think, for some banknotes and pennies. But it makes me wonder if these pennies from Toronto aren't all that great. We did really, really well with those sealed bags. There were lots of foreigns and other interesting things that we found in a couple of previous videos. I think for my next penny video, I might have to go back to my local banks. I've had pretty good luck with those, and I have a bunch of those rolls that I've kind of squirreled away over the last little while. So we'll see how we do with that, but that is just it. I hope you actually still enjoyed the video, even though we didn't find much. One thing I think it's really important is to help set expectations with respect to coin roll hunting. This is an unfiltered look at what you might find. It would be great to think that every roll of pennies is going to have all sorts of old treasure, but that's just not the way it is. It's not the way it is with any denomination, whether it's dimes and quarters when you're looking for silver or if you're looking for old coins and nickels. I actually publish every hunt I do. So you're going to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And today might have been ugly, but I appreciate you watching with me this far. So I've opened up our book, and even with all of those bright, shiny pennies from the 70s, we're not going to get any upgrades because we already got some beauties through 74 to 77. So nothing there, but we did actually make some progress because I hadn't yet slotted a 2012 logo magnetic steel penny. I'd already put the zinc one in here. We had to label some spots we didn't have spaces for on here, but we've managed to get an album filler. So we are now up to 100 filled spots in this album out of a total of 131 that we have labeled here. So we made a little bit of progress. So if anything, we got a little further towards our goal of filling up this beautiful Lighthouse Vista Nature album. I've also weighed all the copper. I think some of you might be curious. If you watch some of the American coin roll hunting channels like Rob Finds Treasure, you might get a sense of what a good US box would be for copper. This box, 50 rolls, so we can at least compare it that way, was 7 pounds, 1.8 ounces of copper. Of course, we have the benefit here in Canada that we kept copper in our scents for much longer, up until 1996. So we would expect to find more than we would in the States, where it was phased out in 1982. So there you have it, 7 pounds, 1.8 ounces of copper in a 50 roll, $25 box of Canadian pennies. Please give the video a like if you enjoyed watching along, regardless of what we found or what we didn't find. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, CAD Roll Hunter, click that button and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. And you can find all of my videos on my channel, and hopefully some ones where we found some other cool stuff, because we have actually found some really cool stuff in our coin roll hunts in the past. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again next time. The sponsors of today's video are Lighthouse Canada and the Charlton Press. Lighthouse Canada is the leading supplier of high-quality numismatic supplies in Canada, and the Charlton Press is the leading publisher of coin and paper money catalogs and price guides for Canadian collectors. Go check out their online stores today and use the exclusive discount code CRH20 for 20% off all your purchases.